Behind the burnout is often a deep identity crisis, and in this segment, we're going to explore the subconscious roles that you've been playing, the caretaker, the perfectionist, and the strong one, and why they've become spiritual cages. You'll learn how releasing these identities isn't giving up, it's waking up. Welcome back, everyone, to the Journey of an Awakening Spirit. This is Kathleen Flanagan, your host, and we're streaming on the Bold Brave TV network. And I know I blipped out. I don't know why I blipped out, but who knows? But we're back. So hopefully this isn't going to happen, and it could be just what's happening here in the hotel. So what I want to do in this segment is I want to uncover subconscious patterns and identities that contribute to burnout and keep the soul from rising. So so basically everything that we've talked about is just the game that we play with ourselves, because we don't always know. We are programmed from little kids to be a certain way. We're supposed to act a certain way. We're supposed to conform to society, that type of thing. Depending on what happens in our childhood, we become the perfectionist, the strong one, the peacemaker, the overachiever. And I can identify with all of that because of the things that happened in my childhood that I was a perfectionist. Thank God I gave that one up. I am definitely the strong one. I am still the Rock of Gibraltar and how a lot of people see me. And if I'm falling, then they know that they're already drowning. And I think that's a bunch of crap, but that's how people perceive me. And then how these roles were formed during that time for me was for my own safety and survival because of the abuse that I incurred as a child. The one that did it. So when my father beat the hell out of me when I was 11, I went into, I don't feel safe. And I went into a survival mode. I realized that my parents were incapable of doing anything. So I became the parent at 11. That means I became an overachiever. That meant that I was going to be a perfectionist. And I also developed my suicidal tendencies at that time. I didn't want to live and go on because if I was going to live like my parents, I'd rather be dead. And that was how I felt about it. And every single one of those attitudes that I carry throughout my life slowly drained the life force out of me. And thank God at 16, when I went to that Edgar Cayce meditation meeting with my mother, I was given an opportunity to see that there was something different and something better. Now, back in the 70s, this was a totally different experience as far as the dimness of the light that was on the planet. And I was here to open that doorway to bring the younger generations into the planet so they can carry on the forward movement in the ascension process that we are in. And believe me, that was a big task back then. So how many of you are holding on to the loyalty of your old pain of where you're suffering and you have these trauma identities and generational stories? And if you let it go, who will you be, right? God knows I did that. I walked around like that for years. Who would I be if I let this go? Because it was an identity. I think when you have hoarders and pack rats and things like that, and I know I was guilty, not that I'm a hoarder or a pack rat, but you carry your life with you. Like I carried my yearbook for forever. I carried certain things in my life. And one day I said, why am I carrying this crap? I don't need it. I don't want it. Of course, Facebook comes back. It would have been nice to see people's faces again. But you know what? It didn't matter to me because it wasn't important. I know what my life is. And carrying momentums of your life just weighs you down. The memories are in your head. How many of you carry your life around with you forever? I mean, I moved so many times that I wouldn't carry a lot of stuff. And then I would live in a house for a while, build it all up. And then it's like, I'm going to move all this crap. Are you kidding me? I don't think so. And so I'm learned to start releasing things. If I don't need it, get rid of it. Create more space for where you want to be and who you want to become. And that's when you're holding on to your past like that, you're holding on to your pain, you're holding on to your suffering, you're holding on to a false identity of who you are. That is not who you are. And when you start releasing that, opening more space for new things to come in, because the universe is always going to fill a void. Always. It always does. But as long as you're carrying all this stuff around, all this garbage and baggage, as I call it, because the outward stuff that we have in our possession is also the inward baggage that we carry within us. Start getting rid of that. You create more space, you feel lighter, things start moving, and you feel better. So when you face those fears of that emptiness, that void between what's ending and what's beginning, now we know that that place sucks a lot of times too. And I'm right in the middle of that place. But see, I have a really strong vision of who I want to become. And I keep moving in that direction. And the more you move into that direction, sometimes it feels like that space is never ending, but it is ending. And I know it's ending. I can see the end. And I have to trust. And I was talking to somebody last week and I said, I'm getting my PhD in surrender right now. And that's how it feels. Like I really am learning how to surrender on levels beyond levels beyond levels. I think that's why surrender eluded me most of my life, is because I've spent a lifetime learning how to surrender. I learned to surrender my pain and my trauma, and I'm learning how to surrender and trust that spirit really is taking care of me, because my ego comes in and it screams. It still screams of, well, what are you going to do with this? And what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And it's like, shut up. And that's what I tell it. Just shut up already, because it's bogus. Because ultimately, when I can get into those higher vibrational frequencies, you just know. And it's navigating through that, which is the challenge. And that's what I'm learning how to do to help you learn how to navigate through higher frequencies as well. So why is this space fertile? It's not frightening. The reason it's fertile, that when you start moving into a higher vibrational frequency and you start dumping the density of you, the soul contracts or your thoughts of what people lied to you about who you were, because I know that when my mother died, I realized that my whole life was a lie, that everything I was ever told was a lie. And the minute that I gave up on that and accepted that, and it was painful. Oh my God, it was so painful, because I really was in an identity crisis at that point of, well, who am I and where am I going and what do I think and how do I feel and what the hell do I even want? And it was a challenge to get through it, but I went very deep, very quiet. I hibernated for many years as I was moving out. And of course, ballroom dancing was the best way to me to accelerate, because if you got something that makes your heart sing, it helps make this transition easier. When you're doing something that comes back to where you're having fun and you're childlike, a spirit loves when you're childlike and you're playing. And so things move faster because you're playing, and that's what spirit wants you to do. They're not asking us to be in the drudgery and the heaviness of this planet. They're asking us to play. You know, Einstein said the solution to the problem is not where the problem was created. The solution to the problem is at a higher vibrational frequency. Fastest way to get there? Play. Do angels, spin around in circles, dance, walk, hike, whatever it is. Just play, and things start to shift very, very quickly because you're moving energy. So what role or belief are you ready to release? Have you even thought about wanting to get rid of something? Or are you just holding on to it because you don't know? But you do know. You always know. You just lie to yourself. And I can speak very clearly about that. I could say, I don't know, but I always knew. That little voice in my head's always talking to me. It's like, you know, but you don't want anybody else to know. So if you say you don't know, then nobody else knows, and then they'll take the pressure off of you. But you never take that pressure off of yourself, regardless. You're the one that's still driving the boat. You're always going to drive the boat. And you can lie to yourself all you want to, but how long do you want to keep playing that game with yourself? And then who are you becoming without it? That's the thing. I mean, this is probably the biggest thing that I'm learning, is who am I really, now that I'm not being associated with a perpetrator still being alive, where I'm always still looking over my shoulder. And even though I don't think I'm looking over my shoulder, I was still looking over my shoulder, people. When that word came in that my father passed, there was a shift in me that I did not understand 100%, but I felt it. And that's what I am, is because I want to be free of being tied to the earth. So I got 3 minutes, And I want to just kind of let you know something that I've done that's helping me with my cats, because, you guys know about Marco, and we're having a tough time integrating him after almost a year. And so I signed up to surrender him at the end of the month, and something's because I wanted to make sure Marco stays. So I asked Spirit, what can I do? And they said, there is something you can do. I'm using a pendulum right now. And last night I did the pendulum because Marco's a feral cat. And he, in his first 8 months of his life, he had to survive on his own. And then he comes into the house, and of course, what's he doing? He's being a feral cat in the house. Even though he's behaving in the house, he's still a feral cat to the other cats. Last night, I did a whole thing about all my cats and everything with Marco. And Sal tells me this morning about they're playing. And I'm like, what? And I told him what I had done. So he had told me that these cats are moving, and cats are very energetic animals anyways. And so I thought, okay, when Sal's telling me this, I'm like, I'm going to use the pendulum on me to start getting rid of whatever blocks I may have, and to accelerate this release of my father. And that's what I did. So we're going to see how this plays out. But what I want you to do is, now that you've released the weight, let's step into your power. So in the next segment, I want to go into rising into that alignment. And as you release what you were never meant to carry, the question becomes, what now? And in this next segment, we're going to guide you through how to rise into your true self and create your personal power with divine clarity. So if you have the light activation guide, bring it out. We can go through it. Otherwise, we will use it as a tool for anchoring what is coming in next. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break.